Alright, hello everyone. My name is Owen, and I'm here to teach you how to cycle an animation and make it a cycled animation. We're going to do a run today. Now, this is the second time I'm actually recording this, because the first time I didn't notice that you couldn't see any of the graph editor, which is very important for this animation. Alright, first off, you want to make sure you're referencing your Maya files when you create an animation. So the reason for that is that you don't want to be editing the rig when you do that. You can edit, or you can make a reference by going under File and create reference. This is the rig I'll be using. A colleague gave it to me. I don't know who made it originally. This rig is a bit funny though for when it's referenced. I noticed earlier it has this error, and when I try saving as a Maya ASCII file, it won't work very well. It just gives me an error, which if this happens to you, it works fine as a Maya binary, where you can do you can save it as a Maya binary, or you can just open up the rig and save over that and make increment saves of that. So now that we have this rig in here, first thing that we want to do is we want to key we want to have our animation set up the way we want to do it. I'm going to animate at 30 frames per second. You want to make sure that whatever you're animating at, it says the frame rate times 1, and that's found under your this little guy down here. It's your preferences for time slider. I'll be starting at frame 0, and I'll be animating to frame 20, and I'll want to show up to 60 because there's some things I'll want to show past that. So frame 0, we're going to key our root at 0 on the z-axis, and then on frame 20 we're going to move it forward, and I'm going to be doing a pretty exaggerated run, so I think I'm going to have it move forward like 20, so that'll be nice. I have auto key on. You can key in several different ways. Auto key will key anything that you've keyed before after you've moved it. You can press S on a thing as well, so if I move this and press S, it'll key everything. Or you can select a thing and right click and do a key selected. Alright, so now that we have our root moving, it kind of moves slow in and slow out of this. We don't want that. We want it to travel just from point A to point B without slowing in and slowing out. So we're going to go into our graph editor, and we are going to make it a spline, and that'll point directly towards each other. Now it's nice and even all the way through. Now what we want to do as well is we want to be able to have this movement forever, post and pre-infinity, and that's really easy. The way we do that is we can click on view and we can view infinity. Now we have these lines that kind of go off in infinity. Now we want them to continue along this line. The way we would do that is we select both of them and we do curves, post-infinity, linear, curves, or pre-infinity and post-infinity, linear. And now, even if it's past our 20 frame allotment that we've keyed, he'll still continue on forever in a straight line, which is exactly what we want. Alright, now we want to start at the root, or the cog rather. We just did the root. The cog is our center of gravity. This is where everything kind of stems from in our animation. I'm going to have a pretty fast run cycle here. It's only going to be 20 frames. So I'm going to have an up on frame 0. That'll be nice right there. And I'm going to have the exact same up on 3 different frames. The way we can have the exact same up is if you're on a frame and you middle click on a different frame, it'll hold whatever values you have. And you want to middle click again. And now we have ups on all of those. Now I want to do a down in between each of those, so that'll be 5. We're going to do a down right there. That'll be nice. The exact same down right there. Awesome. Now he's kind of hopping. Perfect. Now I want him to kind of go in and out of those bits. So what I'm going to do is have some rotate in there. He's going to fall into there. I'm going to have that rotate as if he's fallen in. key that, and then it'll be pushing out of the down like that. Now you want to copy those all the way across. Perfect. Perfect. And then we're going to offset that a little bit because it doesn't make any sense for him to kind of... Oh, we also want to make sure that we're cycling these. So we're going to cycle these so that they go on forever. Pre-infinity, cycle, post-infinity, cycle. Beautiful. And also on his up and downs, I'm going to make him kind of fall into it a bit more. Right now he kind of slows into it, if you see that there a little bit. He kind of slows into it. I don't want that. I want him to kind of pop into it and pop out of it. So if you have these little triangle handles, it means you don't have weighted tangents on. You can just select your keys and select weighted tangents, and then it'll weight them. If you click this button, it'll break them so that they aren't part of the same line, and then this button will point towards the other keyframes, and this is a pretty good arc for what I'm going for quickness. Now I'm going to offset after looping these. You want to make sure you cycle them. I'm going to offset these maybe by about 2 frames. The way I'm going to do that is this box. This box edits where your keyframes are on the time slider. This box does what the angle of your arcs are and how long or short they are. And we'll use this in a little bit. But right now I'm just going to offset it by about maybe 2, I think. Maybe I offsetted it the wrong way. So if we want to see the animation as a loop, what we can actually do is if you're on frame 0, you can mute this translation by right-clicking on it and click mute selected. What that'll do is it'll stop him moving forward, but it'll continue the rest of the animation as if he was moving forward. So I think that's right for how he falls into it and then he pops out of it. Yeah. And that's good for that. Now I want to do one more thing, which is a side-to-side action. I'm going to unmute this. So I want him to go side to side because he's going to put his weight over the foot that he has his weight on. So on this down, I'm going to say that he's going to have his weight on his left foot. This is just the cog that we want here. So it's going to be over his left foot a little bit. And keep that. And then we want the exact opposite value, so we can middle click on 15 and just put in a negative, and it's the exact opposite. And now he hops between them. And we'll want to oscillate these. Oscillating is kind of like cycling, except for it goes between 2 different frames. It goes back and forth. Like that. And that's nice. Alright. Very good. Alright, now we can... I'm going to do the hips real quick as well. On the same frames that it's down, his hips will be up, being pushed against the force of the ground that is coming up through the leg. So since this leg is going to be the one on the ground, it's being pushed up through there, and we want to have the exact opposite value on this one. There we go, and we'll oscillate this as well. Oscillate, oscillate. Perfect. And now he's got a little bit of a hip sway to him. Alright, now we just need to do the feet, and we only need to do 1 foot at a time, and we can just copy to the other foot. So I'm going to pose these in an air pose, which is what we have here, and I'm going to go pretty exaggerated. And the first thing that I want to do actually is that these knee joints, these are kind of annoying. I'm going to set them to foot and see if I need to edit them anymore. I'm going to drag them out a little bit so that they're not messing up the leg too much. go. Okay. Now I'm going to pose this foot because this is forward and it's going to land first. Boop. Perfect. And I'll even have a little bit of toe curl in there. And I want to key the things I just did. Now this foot I don't want to key anything on, I just kind of want a sense of where it is so I can see it as this pose. Right. So this is a pretty exaggerated run. Maybe he'll be a bit less. Maybe it'll be more like that. And maybe this will actually be more like this. There we go. Alright, looking good. Now we just want to do the, we want to make sure we key everything that's on 0 needs to be the exact same on 20. So we'll just do that real quick. Boop. Perfect. Now frame 10 is the opposite. So this will be where this foot is pretty much. It doesn't have to be the exact same, and in fact a little bit of asymmetry would be nice in the animation. Like that. And now we should have this kind of floating foot in the air. So now I'm going to go to frame 5, drag that down because this is where our down is. Have it be contacted with the floor. I'm going to drag it forward a little bit so that it has more of a 90-degree angle through the leg there. That. And I'm going to key this so that it's at 0, so that it is definitely on the floor by then. Now we have a general foot movement like that. That's pretty nice. Frame 15, I'm going to have it drag behind. Like this. And make his toe even follow through a bit more as well, like that. Yeah, that looks good. And now we have a general foot motion. Now, this is in the cycle mode. I guarantee when we put it in and we unmute this, it'll have a slip in the foot, which is fine. I'm anticipating it. And we'll fix it here in a second. But here's where that foot slip was. See how it kind of slips through the ground and slips right there? We're going to want to fix that. So a good way to tell where your foot is and mark where it is using the grease pencil. That's right up here. What you could do is you can draw a frame on your camera. So what that means is if you move your camera, it's going to move too. For instance, like this, it's moving. So be careful when you move your camera if you have a grease pencil thing. So, but that'll mark where our foot is. And a good way to indicate or tell if it's going to slip is if this toe on your frame 10 is behind where it is on frame 5. You can fix this by dragging it forward and kind of messing with that, or and save often. Or you could increase the translate on your root to make him run faster so that he has a bit more of a stride to match your keyframes that you've chosen. So now he's moved forward a bit more. And that's a nice difference. We can deal with that. So I'm going to fix this arc coming into there real quick because that could be a bit better, I think. And I'm going to fix it right here by having it kind of slam down more. Have it be a bit more draggy there. Oops. There we go. And now it feels more like it's slamming onto this foot right here, because right now I have it more healed up right there. Bam. Bam. That's a nice feel for that. Now what you want to do to make sure it doesn't slip is that the ball of the foot is going to leave last, so that's what stays on the ground. So you want to make sure you're trying to keep it on the ground properly for as long as it can physically be, and this is where you have to kind of go frame by frame to make sure that it's not slipping. Whoops. Slight outside there. Go. You also want to make sure that it doesn't kind of break the knee there, like how I've just done. So I'm just going back a little bit to where I hadn't even keyed 6. And I'm going to put his ball on the ground and just bend his toes so that it's on the ground, like that. You might even be able to get away with a little bit more foot on the ground. Just want to make sure that your whole foot doesn't kind of break the knee in the next frame here. So try and get it as close to the ground as you can without breaking the knee. There we go. Frame of fixing this. There we go. Nice, looking good. Goes through there nicely. And now let's just check it in perspective mode to make sure the knee isn't doing anything weird. Doesn't look like it. Check to make sure yeah, okay. So one thing we haven't done yet is we haven't cycled this. So we're just going to cycle everything in our thing. Now you'll notice some of your arcs are a little weird, but that's fine since you're going from frame to frame. It's not going to notice it. People won't notice it because it's not going to be shown. Alright, now we are pretty much good to go on translating it over to the other foot. Looks good on this one foot. I'm happy with it. So, yeah, I'll teach you how to put it on the other foot. Save often. Very nice. Okay, so you want to be on frame 0. The foot that you're copying to should have no keys on it, and everything should be set to 0. Alright? As if it hasn't been touched. So what you want to do with the key that you're copying from is select all the attributes that you need to copy, and you want to, or that have frames on them already, and you want to right click on them, and you want to do copy selected. Now you want to go to the foot you're pasting to and select all the attributes that you copied from, and you're going to do paste selected. Now we'll have this weird little animation thing where it kind of has an animation but it doesn't quite work. What you want to do is, we can fix that in the graph editor. So we'll open up the graph editor on the foot we just translated to. You want to go into the copied to. You want to go into the translate, and you'll select all your keys, and we're going to reverse the arcs. And the way we're going to do that is by multiplying it by a value of -1. And this is the box I was talking about earlier that affects our arcs. We'll reverse it by -1. You can also multiply it by other things too if you want things to be half as exaggerated as they are, or twice as exaggerated. That's where you'd enter a value to multiply the arcs. Now we have 2 feet that have the exact same animation on them. I see that our knee is broken a little bit on our right foot, and that just has to do with the hips not being aligned properly. It'll fix itself, or it should fix itself in a second here, when we offset everything. Now, that reversing the arcs won't work if you do it on any of the rotates. You don't want to reverse any of the arcs on the rotates, just the translates. So now we're going to select all of our keys on our second foot, and we're going to offset it by 10. This is our box that changes where things are on the time slider. So we're going to do plus equals 10, and what that'll do is it'll add 10 to our scene, or to our keys, and it'll set them off by 10, and now he'll have 2 feet running in place. And it's a nice cycle. Very nice. So now that we have our feet done, and they look all nice and neat, and they go on forever as well, the beauty of post and pre-infinity cycles is they can just go on for however long they need to, even past your animation time. We are going to work our way up the back and the spine. So when he comes up, he'll kind of drag his whole body behind him. So that'll be after his rotation on his cog. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rotate everything on his cog up through his spine to his neck, all the way to his head, and I'm going to exaggerate his kind of curve there a little bit, and I will key that. Now the other one was on 2, and I will key that. There we go. Now 2 is going to have the same value as 10, or 12 rather, and it's going to have the same value as 22 as well. Beautiful. And 7 is going to have the same value as 17. Beautiful. Now he'll have this more of a bend and looseness to him. Alright, now we want to rotate him on his Z as well. All these can be rotated on his Z. And what that'll do is it'll rotate over his body that it'll rotate over the foot that's contacted with him. So I'm going to rotate that on 5, and rotate it on 0, 5, 10, and 15, 20. So it'll be there on 5. Actually, I just do 5 and 15. It'll be there on 5. Key that, and then on 15, it's the opposite. So it'll be there. Perfect. Now he's got a glitch in the system there. And that's because we haven't done any oscillating or things like that. So we're going to select our Z's, and we're going to oscillate those. Doop. Doop. And then we want to select our X's. Wrong button. X's, and we're going to cycle those. And now the glitch in the system should be gone. Yep, now he's waddling back and forth. He's got a nice little run there. Now we want to rotate him along the Y as well, so that he kind of has that forwardness to him, where he's got that reverse swing in his arms. So the opposite arm is going to be going forward with the leg. So here we're going to rotate his Y, so he's more forward like that. Here I'm actually going to deselect the head as well, because I don't want to rotate that as much. So rotate that forward there. Awesome, key that. And then 0 is the same as 20, so make sure you key that there. And then 10 is the opposite. So this is where you want to rotate it. Rather, you can just copy the value and input the negative. There we go. And now he's kind of got that nice going to his back. Now we're going to offset his back a little bit as we go up the spine so that it looks a bit more natural than everything hitting at the same time. So what you want to do is you want to select all your controls again. And what we'll do is in our graph editor, also, if you guys see this little kink here, that's because of a misvalue input. You want to try and get rid of those. So looks like it's those two are causing it. So you delete those keys, and now it looks to be all good. Oh, well, of course you want to select your Y's that we just did, and you want to cycle those. Awesome. Alright, and we don't need this key either, actually. We can get rid of that. Awesome. Now you want to select all your keys, and we're going to start offsetting things. So this will be, everything is going to be offset from the hips by, I'm just going to actually deselect the bottom one and select all our keys again. I'm going to offset everything here by 1. Then I'm going to deselect the bottom one and offset everything again by 1. And then I'll do that again. Awesome. I might actually do one more with everything selected. And we'll do one more offset with everything selected. So I was just deciding to do an offset on the bottom one as well. And now he's a bit more natural looking rather than like a stick figure. I'm gonna leave the head how it is. He's kind of looking side to side as he runs. You can fix that with your Y translation or Y rotations if you want. Just make him point his head forward the whole way. But that's a minor thing, and I am more interested in teaching you how to do the whole run as a whole. So that's the spine. Now we're free to go on to the arms, and we only have to animate one arm, and we can get the other arm for free, just like how we did with the legs. Now the arms are opposite, as we know, so I'm going to just pose. I'm going to pose the fists first, actually, because I'm not going to do anything with the fists, like having them open or close their hands. I'm going to take all the controls for the hands, and I'm going to close the fist like that. Then I'll take the thumb controls and close those as well. And that's fine. Perfect. Save opt-in. Awesome. Alright, now I'm going to start with the shoulder. I'm going to move that back. Make sure you key on frame 0 and 20 when you're happy with it, because 0 and 20 are the same. Let's just move that back, and I'm going to have him have his arm bent, kind of like that. Boom. I want this to be pointed down like that. I'm going to try and get that nice pump that we see in a lot of runners. That runners pump. Yeah, I'll keep all of those actually. Just in case we rotate the like we just did. Awesome. And let's get in there. I think I'm gonna rotate the wrist just a little bit. It would be pointed towards where it was theoretically coming from. That's pretty good. Now we want to make sure we do that all for frame 20 as well. And the thing about right clicking as well is once you've right clicked one control, it'll have the values for all the controls. It just takes the values of anything you have in the frame you right clicked from and takes it to the frame that you're now on, and it'll allow you to key what you had. Alright, now his arm is posed back there. Now we're going to do the opposite, which is frame 10. His arm is totally opposite. So we'll do that. Swing it forward. Back out. Boom. Go. And it's a bit more pumped out like that. So I'm going to take this guy forward and more up. And his wrist is a bit more drag like that. Maybe that's good. That's pretty alright. Cool. Now we have this general kind of back and forth swing. We can do a bit better now, kind of like how we did with the feet earlier on. We can add in some breakdowns. So this guy is coming from the back, going forward. So I'm going to take it and drop it lower, like that. And I'm going to extend it more as if it was a pendulum, right? Because that's basically what it is. Yeah, drag that wrist back a bit more. And there we go, look at that. Nice little pendulum. And now we need to do going backwards, where we get that nice pump. Where it kind of, you get your fist going towards your shoulder. Drop that arm a little bit more. Bend that more. That. I'm going to point his arm out more. And maybe that's a bit too much of a pinch. Maybe. We can see real quick here, actually. That actually looks alright. That gives the general motion down. That's nice. Alright, now that if you have your hand happy and it's all nice the way that you like it, we're just going to copy it over to the other side and offset it, and we'll be practically done. So, you want to make sure you're on frame 0, take your values for your shoulder, copy your values that you have keyed, and you'll paste it to your other arm. And you just do that all the way down the arm. There we go. Paste selected. Copy selected. Paste selected. And one last one for the wrist. Copy selected and paste selected. Now the arms are the exact same, and all we have to do is offset them. Kind of look like it was snapping there. Sync. So take all our controls, we'll open up our graph editor. We want to make sure that we cycle it. Forgot to do that earlier. Take all those and you'll offset them by 10, which is exactly half of our animation because we have 20 frames. We want to make sure we cycle it on the other arm too, because I forgot to do that. Cycle, cycle, epic. And now we have a nice little cycle there. Look at him run. Now the best thing about this cycle too, since we've used a lot of infinity values, it'll continue in a straight line for however long we want. Say we've only animated 20 frames, right? If we unmute this translation, he'll still continue his run for a very long time, all the way until he reaches the end of the animation, going forward in that line. This is how I was taught to animate a run cycle for a video game, and this is a way that I hope you learn to cycle animations and animate animations. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.